right, and we're back. We're back, it is COMP3025 in the winter 2016 semester. It's week 9, part 2, and what we were doing when in the last video is we kind of created a simple app. We kind of reviewed how to lay out things both by drag and dropping and looking at the XML document. I want to create my second activity because this is our primary activity we're using with our demo app. By the way, we're working with a repo. Peter had asked that I set up a repo. I'm working with a repo that is COMP3025 two-screen demo under Georgian College if you wanted to follow along. So if somehow yours doesn't work like mine later on, go home, check it out. You can always download the results of what I got, and you can compare mine with yours, and then hopefully that'll help you with your next project. All right, so here's what we're working on today. We're going to try and make this extra object. One thing I want to do is here under App, I want to right-click under App now, and if I right-click here in Android Studio, I can add in additional things here. For example, I could add in an Android resource file. I could do things like an image asset, but what I really want to do is put in a new activity. Now, there's some really cool thing is you can add in any one of these additional activities here that are pre-done. There's some templates for this, but what I want to do again is I want just a blank activity. I want to kind of add in a blank activity. So let's do that. So in my blank activity, it kind of talks about what my activity will be called. Let's call this my info activity, right? Because this is kind of what I want you guys to do for your little calculator, right? So I'll call this info activity, right? And then it's going to be called activity info, right? Please notice that under activity, I can redo it. If I wanted this activity to be first, I could click on launcher activity, and it would rejig my Android manifest. I don't want that. I can also make it use a fragment. Fragments are a little bit out of scope for what we're doing, so we're not going to touch that. There's also hierarchical parent. If I wanted to make it so that the parent is pointing to some other parent. Right now, I don't want to put that in there. We're going to put that in later on, right? And notice that my package name is still CA Georgian College, whatever your application was called before. Click Finish. All right, so what it does is it says add files to Git if I wanted to, because I'm using Git control, and it tells me all these things I want to add in. I'll say yes, sure. Forget the rendering problems for a second. We'll fix the rendering problems. So here's something that I have. I have content. I have another activity info.xml, right? And I also have a activity info.xml or content info.xml for my layout, right? So here's my activity info.xml, my content info.xml. Both is what's showing up here. This is why I have no layout right now, right? Here's still my content main. Here's my main activity, right? So if I go to content main, I still have this piece, but here's my content info. Okay, under Java, what's also happened is I have a second activity. So I have my main activity and I have my info activity, right? Both of those activities now, if I look at this file, both of these activities here are identical. One of them was a blank activity before. And by the way, looks like our options menu is what's happening here. If you notice, if I go to Genymotion, by the way, for what we did when we were on the break is I went to Genymotion and I clicked on my settings, and that's the settings menu that comes up. This is my action button that comes up here. And notice that in my main activity, I have something called a snack bar, right? A snack bar. As my snack bar is actually what's popping up my little message, right? Which is replace with your own action. That's what the message is that's coming up. So let's go back to a review what I was just talking about. So for those people who just came in, I've launched my Android Studio and I've added in a new activity by right-clicking on my app and going New Activity, Blank Activity, and following the little wizard that goes through, right? Once I've got my blank activity, it adds in a couple of things. I call it my info activity, and it's going to add in a couple of these XML documents for my different layout, because I have a second layout for my info activity, right? For now, let's put one thing on my info activities layout. So here's my content info, right? So I notice there's nothing in there right now. I need a layout I have a relative layout that's a default for my my activity. And let's just put in there my info. We'll call this info layout. So I'm going to go to my ID here. So we're just prepping again. I'm going to call this info relative layout. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. In order for you to fix that, if you have a rendering issue, you can go to build, right? Clean project. Sometimes that'll fix your issue. And the other way to do it is to go to build, or if you go to build and you go to rebuild project, what that'll do is rebuild the project with your current layout. Now remember, I'm targeting Nexus 6, so make sure you're targeting Nexus 6. That should fix you, right? And the refresh button also helps. If you click the refresh button on the right-hand side here, it'll refresh your build. Okay? All right, cool. So I've got my app colors are all the same, right? I've just changed my relative layout that's built into this second activity as info relative layout. I've just named it info relative layout so we can access it later on, right? Notice that I still have an activity info. This is my activity info, which is a totally different thing. If I click on my text box here, activity info shows a relative layout. There's still showing this this behavior here with this button, right? And here's my info relative layout. But remember that it's going to include my activity info. If I go to activity info for a second, my activity info is always going to include my layout. So here's my layout, what it looks like. And it also, by default, includes this floating action button, which is the little object here. We're going to change the icon in a bit, right? And you notice that my source drawable IC dialog email is the source, right, for my dialog, right? What I want to do is I want to go to if I want to change this to something else, where it says drawable IC dialog email, there's other options here. If I can actually pick one that's built in, so Android drawable, and if I press space, control space, I can see that there's other options here, like for example an arrow, right, a down arrow, a different buttons, a bottom bar. It has some built-in stuff, like for example a button star that I can choose or whatever. And if I choose button star, then now it's a little star instead of an email box. So button star. Which I kind of like. I mean, I like the fact that you can, you can kind of choose whatever default icon you have, a little button star or whatever, right? There's other ones too. So again, if you don't know how I got there, all I did was, again, I went to the XML piece and I went / control space, and control space pulls up different options, right? So you can choose other drawables here, right? So here's IC with icon, right? Input add, input left, input, and it'll show me what it looks like. If you notice on the left-hand side, input get, input idle alarm. There's a bunch of different ones, locks and different things that it has in here. So you can choose one that you like, and it gives you, a lot of times it gives you this this information. I want to see if there's one that's info details, and there is this little I button. See this little I button, right? That's the one I use for what I want to use for our main one. So it's called IC menu info details, right? If you notice, it gives you this little menu here, this little info detail thing. Now this is neat, but I don't want to have a fab button in my layout for my second layout. I only want to have this little fab button for my other layout, right? So let's get rid of this. So how do I do that? So I want to get rid of my fab button. So I can get rid of it here. I need to get rid of both in my activity info XML. That's what I'm looking at right now, as well as inside my activity, my info activity Java. Right, so let's get rid of it. So I'm going to get rid of this whole button because I don't need it for my second activity. I'm just showing you where you can find it. There it's gone. And I want to go back to in my info activity. Notice that I have a reference to my action button, and I just want to get rid of that too. So my float and action button here in my onCreate method is gone. So I don't have that. Notice again that I have in my set content view in my new activity, I have this. It references my XML document, activity info. right? So that's kind of something to note, right? And that's what I'm using. I'm using this new XML document over here. Okay, cool. Let's just put in a very simple, if I go back to my content info XML, let's put a very simple, in my design view, a simple message that says, here, info goes here, or info, I want to put some information here. It's almost like my details or info, or whatever I'm going to put. It's just a regular text box, just as a placeholder for now. So I'm going to get a plain text view, and I'll kind of drop that in here into my relative layout. And I want to choose my, in my text box here, it says it's going to just say something else. I'm going to put in, I'm going to use some place, so I'm not going to make some permanent text. I'm not going to add it into the strings XML. I'm just going to put something like info details goes here or something like that. Info details here. And I'm going to change my text size so that it matches up with my app. So text size. And I'm just going to choose my app text, which is going to be 40 SP. So that's what it's going to say. So info details here. So all we want to see when we click my new activity is that it says info details here. When it comes up, so I click my button, it's going to take us here. Save. Okay, I'm going to go back to my original activity, my main activity XML, or my content main XML. Let's go my content main XML. Notice I have my email back because I'm on my floating action button. Let's go back to my activity main XML to change that. Here's my activity main XML. Okay, my activity main XML shows my IC dialog email. I don't want that. I want to change this to something else, like I said. So I'm just going to kind of erase it and control space to get that IC info is what I really want, right? Let's see if I can find one that where that was again. I think it's IC menu info or something like that.
Info details.
IC info details, is that what I call it?
Menu info.
Menu info details. Oh, we can start typing. IC menu info details. There we go. I want to just deploy it as is. So I want to kind of redeploy back on my Genymotion device to see what it looks like. It's always good to test on your device to see how this is going to change from my little email icon to the other one, right? That's a little better. Right? So it's kind of, it shows you it's something else. Now we're gonna do it so that it doesn't just show us this. When I click on this button right now, and let's say forget what this is. This is just entering my name or whatever, right? But when I click on this button, right, I want to start my new activity. That's what I want it to do. I don't want it to do a toast or this little snack bar that comes up on the bottom. That's a little snack bar that comes up on the bottom. That's what it's called. I want it to take us to the new activity. So that's what it's going to do. In order for me to do that, I got to go to my main activity. Here's my main activity, and it's my main activity Java file, all right? And notice my main activity Java file has my set Onclicklistener built in, and under I have my, instead of doing a snack bar, let's get rid of this snack bar. So here's my snack bar. I want to get rid of this piece inside my overview. So I'm not going to make a new snack bar, right? Oh, please don't get rid of the onclick, just the snack bar itself, right? You should have this. And you know what I also don't need? I don't need all this stuff. I don't need like on create options menu. I don't want to do that. I don't have an options menu for my app. I just want to get rid of it all. Right? My app is going to be very simple. Under the on create, there should be this floating action bar thing, and we're going to make it so that way this is going to create the intent that it's going to take us to the next screen. Okay? We're going to do the OK button too, but first one thing at a time. Right, the submit button or the OK button is going to do it, but I want to first do it with my floating action bar button. All right. Okay, cool. So the first thing is we've added in our activity, and let's take a look at my manifest and see what the changes happened already so far. So double click on my manifest. Notice that I have a second activity. So there's two activities here. There's the first activity, which is right here in my manifest, and there's the second activity that's right here. And notice the only difference is that the name of my activity is right here, right? And my label for the activity is title activity info, right? That's been added in, right? And here's my theme, app theme, no action bar. And you can change the theme to whatever you want. But notice these things, this makes up my new activity inside my manifest. So you can see how that pans out. Now, if I had to do, instead of following what I was doing so far, right, which is what I've been doing is I created it with the wizard. I could certainly just create it by hand, right? I could certainly create it by hand by simply creating this situation here. I just have to put this activity inside my Android manifest. And by the way, a lot of people do this instead of using the wizard. They just create this activity, and then they add in by hand the info activity.java class, and that's just right here. This is what the name is right here, the .info activity, right? And then what they also do is they create the layout on their own, which you can do by right-clicking on the layout if you wanted to do it by hand and going new XML layout XML file. So you could do all that by hand instead of using the wizard that I used, right? You can do that one thing at a time. Okay, we need to change our main activity here. And the first thing we need to do in order for us to switch to the next activity is we need to set up something called an intent, right? So we'll just start typing intent. And we need a new intent in here. And then the intent that I want to mention is, again, I like to call the intent something to move to the next activity, right? So move to, almost like a move to or open info intent. Open info intent. Now you can call this anything you want, but I'm just calling it this what it is. And of course, it's a new intent. My new intent, and it's going to go from the current activity, right, which is main activity dot this. This is interesting syntax to my new activity, which is going to be called my info activity, right, dot class. Okay, that's my intent. Now that's not moving us from one activity to the other. That's just creating the intent to move. All right. So I'm creating almost like the ability for me to say where I'm coming from and where I'm going to. That's the first step. Second step for this little piece is I want to type in something very silly and stupid, which is start activity. I know it sounds dumb, but I got to start typing activity. Start activity, and inside the start activity, I have to put in my intent, which is open info. That's why I typed it this way, open info intent. What was that? Oh, into my thing. So that's Alt, or for me it's Option Enter, and I have to. I think I have to include I have to do the import, right? So that's what it's asking. And how do I do that by hand? Sorry, I can't. I don't. Yep.
Over intent, though, not like the red. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. Sorry, it's just me. Because I'm on a Mac. There we go. Okay, let's see if it works. So that's all I should need. So I'm going to kind of run this new activity on Genymotion. And now when I click my floating action button, if I did it correctly, it should open up. It should open up my my new activity. Let's see if that works. So I'm gonna wait till this thing redeploys. And if I did everything correctly, when I click on this button, it goes info details here. Hey, notice that, how do I get back, right? Well, the great thing is if you, on the device, if you click the back button, it'll take you back to the first activity, right? I don't have a back button because I don't have this kind of, the buttons here in my tab, but I do have this back button right here, right? I think this would be the back button. So back button will take you over here. Question? Yeah.
So what if your class variables in one activity together?
So we're going to talk about next. So you got to pass it as an extra. That's what it's called. It's called an extra. That's again, these are just API things we have to learn, right? All right, so that's cool. I mean, we know how to get from one activity to the other. And what happens to the first activity? Anyone have an idea? It parks it. Yeah, it just parks it on the side. It pauses that activity, doesn't take it away, and then you go back to the first activity. So all it's doing is swapping the screens. It's starting off with this one on top, and then once you run the second activity, it goes like this, puts that to the top of the stack, and puts the other one to the bottom. And then when you switch back, it knows where it came from. It knows its parent activity and goes switches it back. That's all it's doing. Okay. Now you could make a cyclic reference where you want to go back to the other activity by creating a back button if you wanted to do that, right? So if I click here and I want a little back button that shows up on the top, on the left here, I could do that, right? Because instead of clicking my back button, which I get from here, right, on Genymotion, I don't want to do this, right? I want to have a little back button that gets me there, right? Now here's what I want to do with this. This is my intent, my real intent. I want to enter my name, so when I click in here, this whole thing is highlighted, right? When I click in here, remember we did this last time with a different kind of event listener, right? When I click this thing, this whole thing gets highlighted. This is this placeholder text, right? And then I put my name in. When I press OK, it carries my name from here to my new activity, right? As opposed to just pressing this. So if I click down here, it'll have that detail here. It'll change my info details here to my name, right? That's what it's going to do, okay? With an extra, right? So is everyone with me so far? Because this is the challenge we're going to have, right? So first, let's make it so that when I press OK, I go to my next activity, right? That's the first thing I want to do. I want to kind of create an intent the same way as I did before, right? So I don't have my snack bar, right? Here's my information. I want to go back. When I click OK, it's going to take me to my new activity. So it's the same thing. Remember, just if you think about what we're doing here, we're set on Onclicklistener. I want to do that. But what I also want to do is I want to get a reference to my button. So first I get a reference to my button just as a reminder, right, of how this all works. So, by the way, I'm in my floating back action button. I got to be careful. I'm talking about in here. So if I go in here, I need to make a reference to my button. And of course, I'm going to call this something like button. So here's my button reference. And I'm going to call this the OK button, right? So we'll call this OK button. And what does that equal to? It equals to a find view by ID, right? And I want to do r.id, oops, sorry, r capital R, r.id and then my button, which is my OK button, right? So if I named it that, OK button, there we go. So that's a reference to the button, but I need to fix this by creating by casting it as a button. So I'm going to do something like this, go in front of this thing and cast as a button, right? So that's kind of, and of course I got to do the same thing as I did last time. I got to kind of hover over this and press Alt, Enter, so we can add in that button class, widget button. Now, so there, I've made a reference to my button, okay? And now what I want to do is I want to do the same thing that I see up here. I want to go button, OK button, dot set Onclicklistener, right? And the same way we just did it before, new view dot Onclicklistener, right? Here it is. And what I want to do here is one of those. We want to use our @override. By the way, you can do this by automatically too, but what the hell? @override with a public void onClick event, just like we would. So each one of them has their own anonymous onClick event that's built into them, right? And if you notice, I'm just going to take this same exact stuff and put it here. Could I not do it so that I have a method that I can call here instead of this stuff here over and over again, right? My onClick event is the same method, but I want to use the same content for getting us to the next intent. So yes, I could. How do I make a method for my main class? I just call it whatever I want, right? Like for example, you know, open the info screen, method. So how do I make a method? Remember how to make a method in Java. Again, you just notice whether it's public or private. Let's make it public for now. It returns void, right? We need to make the method name something else. Like for example, it's going to be called open info screen, right? And all this method is going to do is do this intent here, right here. So we're just going to copy this intent and put it here. So open info screen, right? So now instead of typing this thing twice, I want to just replace this with open info screen. But you'll notice there might be a bit of a problem, right? So open info screen is there, right? And I want to do the same thing over here, open info screen, to get it to the same place. Let's just test the thing the way it is right now by pressing the test. We're just going to test it each time, so that way I don't want to have a problem with my app, right? So here's my info screen. If I click onto it, it gets me here. I can go back, press my back button. If I press the OK button, it takes me there too. Both ways, I'm able to get back to my info screen. Either way, I open up my intent. All right, so those two things, I've got two little methods, and all I'm doing is going from one to the other. I'm just using a method to do that. Okay, so I want to add an extra, right? I want to add an extra to an intent, right? Because once I put the extra, there's two pieces. There's two ways I got to use it. I've got to put the extra, and then I got to use the extra, right? So one of the things I need to do is I need to call something like, call this thing something, right? Whatever it's going to be, right? That I'm going to put over. Like for example, my name. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put it inside my intent here. Notice I'm not going to work in here anymore, right? When I press the OK button or the info button, I want to take whatever's inside my the text file, the text view, or my edit text view, and I want to pop it over to the next side. Let's do one more thing before. Click and name edit text, I wanted to, instead of an on-click event, I wanted to, on change, I want this to highlight everything. Select all. Remember how we did that last time, right? So how do I do that? Let's go back to my activity, main activity.java to do that. And I need to make a reference to it first. So I'm going to say, okay, down in here, let's make a reference to my, my edit text, so which is called the name edit text. So it's edit text. Right, and then I'm going to call this my name edit text, right, which is of type edit text. Might as well just put the cast in there already. And I'm going to do find view by ID, r.id. And then it's going to be my name edit text, right? So that's my reference. And I probably should do something like a equals to somewhere. That'll be good, right? There we go. So now that I got a reference to my edit text, I want to create another event listener, right? But it's going to be a different event listener. So I'm going to say edit text, sorry, name edit text. Here it is, name edit text dot. And now let's take a look at what I can do. Instead of set Onclicklistener, I want to set my, when I change something, right? Remember we did this. Take a look and see what else they have. Set compound drawable. And we're going to go to set on. Let's see if there's other ones. Set apply window, set on context, click listener. So I'm clicking on the context. Set create context menu listener, set edit, set focus change listener when I get focus. Set touch listener. What else do I want to do? Anybody? What do you recommend that I do when it's not the click. I mean, I can put the click in there, right? So when I click in there, I can do that. I can also change on change. I want it to do something too, right? Let's use the on click again. I could probably use the on click again, but instead of my new on click view.onClickListener this time, I want to see if I can do something else, right? So I want to be able to do something that I didn't do before. So I can do the same thing as I did before, view.onClickListener. So on the onClick event, I wanted to highlight everything. OnClickListener. I want to do an on-at override again. And I want to do public void onClick. Type this properly with the view. And what I want to do in here is I want to select all. So how do I select my text? So it's the text box for the name edit text. So name edit text dot. I want to set text or select all. Here it is, my select all. Right? That's the first thing I want to do. So as soon as I click in there, it selects the entire text box. Let's just try that. Okay, so when I click in there, it selects everything. So I want to run this in Genymotion. See, every time I do it, look what I'm doing. I'm testing each of my new features every single time. Why? Because if it doesn't work, I can correct it. I can fix it. I don't want to assume that it's going to work unless I've tested it. Right? Battery is low. Why? Oh yeah, looks like my I got sparking going on with my. My thing is a sparky now. Not good at all. It means like my my little power supply is done. All right, so I click in there, right? And it looks like as soon as I start clicking in there, I can change my name to whatever it is going to be. I can select all. If I click in there again, it should do it again, right? Every time I click in there. That's good. So I can do whatever I have to do now. And I wanted this because if I press OK, then that'll do that. Cancel should do something else. Cancel should wipe it out and put back my whatever was in there before, right? Like enter your name. It should go back in there, like clear it up, right? So let's do this first before I move to the next. I pass in my stuff. So I got my OK button. Might as well put it between my OK button and my the stuff that's in here. So let's just make another reference to my cancel button. So I'll say button, cancel button. Right? Let's make this button here as equal to a new, so a button. I'm going to cast it as a button. Find view by ID, and it's r.id.cancel button. There it is. I've already done that in my. I've already set up those IDs in my my layout, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to say cancel button dot set on click listener, and with a new view.onClickListener. And if I hover over this thing, you know, here's the other thing. Will it give me the rest of my stuff? If I go like on enter and it says implement methods, you know, the on-click view, could I do that? Right? And it does. It just kind of types it all for me instead of, you know, doing it by hand, right? So I've been doing it by hand this whole time, right? And so when I click on this thing, what I wanted to do is I want to replace the name edit text. There's a problem. What's happening? Well, I've established my name edit text here, but it doesn't have access to it up here, which means I have to move this piece, the reference to my edit text a little higher, right? So I'm going to cut this out and just put it here at the top somewhere. Doesn't matter. So I can access my edit text, just my reference to my edit text up here. Now inside my cancel button, I can do that. I can say something like my name edit text dot text or set text, and I want to set this text to at string, my at string option, right? And it's going to be something like whatever it's going to be. So control space, my cancel. It's going to be my whatever my resource is, right? So it's going to be my at string activity, but I'm going to put in my file, whatever was in there before, for my content, on my values. Right, here's my string value. I want to put in my enter your name, which is enter name, the enter name string, right? So enter name. Now, if it doesn't work, right? What am I missing here? How come my string resource? It's not going to be doing it, or is it just going to print out at string? Well, look what it says. It says if I hover over it, it says I've method invocation, cancel button set on click, override public. No. No. XML parser?
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with that?
See, so you want to get this like from
No. All I want to do is set text to the value of my resource, right? So if you don't know how to do that, if I want to set text to a resource value, so I'll go here, Android set text to resource, to string resource, right? Well, if you don't know how to remember how to do it, like me, I can't remember how to do that. It's been a while. Then, where is it here?
r.string.mycard.
There we go, r.string. Whatever it's going to be called. So that's how you do it.
That's the XML part of it.
Oh. So it's, you go back to here and you put in stuff instead of what I did, you go r.string. Whatever it's called, name, enter name. There we go. All right, so when I click on this thing, then it's gonna, put this back. What's this little assert cancel button? Not equal to no. Surround with if. No, I don't need that. Okay, let's go to try this out and see if it works. So this, I'm just preparing everything before I do my extra. All right, so back here. So again, I'm gonna click in here. Wait, clicking intent works again, but here's Tom, and then when I click cancel, it should put it back to normal, right? So those things work. Yay. All right, so I've gotten those things done. Those things are good. Now I can actually put in my extra. And I only need one extra, but I can put multiple extras in my intent if I want to, right? So underneath where I have my intent, and before I start my activity, I want to create my extra, which is my name, right? My name value, right? And I want to get my name value from what I entered in my name edit text, whatever I got from my name edit text. So I want to make it so it's a string value. So I'm going to say string. I want to kind of declare a new value, so string. And my new string value is going to be the name that I'm going to send. So let's say, I don't know, let's call it username, right? And I'm going to assign it automatically to my name edit text. Name edit text. We're going to have to do that in the class definition here. So let's just take this final. Sorry, guys. What I need to do is go one of these and put it as a class variable. Sorry. If I don't do that, then I want to have access to it over here. Name edit text. There we go. Name edit text dot get text. With my get text, that's the name of my object. And now, why is it giving me an issue that I need to put this to string? Because even though it's whatever it is, it's not giving me the proper format. So there's my username, right? So now that I have what I want from my intent, what I want to do is I want to take my option. So I'm going to say something like this: open intent info. Open info intent, that one, and I'm going to say dot put extra. And what I'm passing over is, and this is where it gets a little funky. So my activity, which is my main activity, right? And then, of course, what I'm sending over, which is my username. It should be there now. Username. What did I actually? It actually has a. Yeah, it might be a key value.
Reference on the next activity.
I think so, but I have to. If I'm not wrong, we have to mention. All I'm doing is I'm creating my. Oh, I see what they did. Sorry, one more thing we have to do before we do this. There's one more thing. You're right, Rich. Here on the top, right? What we have to do is we have to declare a bit of a string. So we're going to say public static final, a string that we're going to use, which is going to be called the name info, right? And my name info is going to be equal to, and this is where it gets funky, the name of my application. So COMP dot, or is it CA dot Georgian College dot Android, and then whatever my name is. I think it's, I called my package. This is the package name up here, ca.georgiancollege.my application. Sorry, my application. I think it's like this, my application, and then dot. I think this is how we do it. Just bear with me. I think I got this just reversed here. It's just a constant that I'm going to add in, right? So it's equal to whatever it is that I'm going to pass over, right? So it's going to be like my the name of my option and then a username. This is the one, once I have this name info, right, then that's the one that I'm going to be using. Now, I'm not sure if it's CA Georgian College my application or CA Georgian College and then .android my application. I may have to change this in a second. I'm not sure if I have to put the Android in there.
Well, it comes up in the
In the what?
it comes up in the, like when you go back to hashtag dot, and then you go.
Oh no, I know this, but I'm saying I'm not sure if this format is correct, right? So when we do a put extra, so put extra dot name info, this is where I'm storing it, right? And then what I want to do is what the info is going, and of course I'm going to put in the name that I'm storing in there, which is my username, right here, this username. So this username here, this string goes here, and this name info here goes inside my intent, my put extra, right?
You couldn't just name it in quotes, that's key.
Yes, right, but that's the way they show how to do it here. All right, so once I've got the extra, right, I want to be able to retrieve it, and I'm going to do that inside of my activity, right? So I'm going to go back to my new activity, which is my info activity. And inside my onCreate method, I need a couple things. I'm going to create a member variable. We're going to call this a private string value, right? Which is going to be called, we're going to just call this my username, right? So it's not shared. And then inside my onCreate method, what I want to do is I want to say something like this, right? Username, right, is equal to, and here we go, get intent, right, dot get string extra. And then in my extra, I'm going to put in the what the name is, the extra is for my intent, which is going to be my name, should be by capitals, I think my username is what I put it, username. Did I put username or username? This is where the problem is. And I think I did this last time. Hold on a second. Name info, sorry. Name info, I'll be okay. Name info. And it's not showing up because I think inside my activity, and then comma false, right? Comma false. In my activity, sorry, I think I haven't done it properly. I haven't registered properly in my activity. I have to go back to my main activity here and see where it says name info. I think in here, I think I got to put in Android. .android. Or the other way around. Yes.
It's a public static variable, so you should be able to call me activity.user.
Yeah, I should be able to, but it should be part of my. I want to make sure that I have it right because they put it in differently than I have it, and I want to make sure that I have it the right way. Android, so it's Android.
I tried naming it. When I put it in quotes, just name info in quotes. It says cannot be applied, get string extra string, and cannot be applied.
In the second activity, when you get it, you have to, if you get strings, then the same like name info in there. Yeah.
You know what, without the false parameter, it works.
I think the false parameter out.
You put that in quotes,
What, the name info?
it's like the name of a key.
No, that wouldn't make any sense, right?
If on the first activity, if you didn't use that global variable, and you just put it in quotes.
By itself?
Yeah, when you make them put extra.
Or are you talking about here? This name info. Instead of putting it in quotes, you say?
Access main activity.name.info.
Okay, I'll try that. But it should really see it right away. This get string extra.
It's in the my application.
So you see saying main activity dot name info. That's what you want, right? And then false. Why does that give me an issue?
It works without the.
Yeah, I want to see why it tells me that. I create a switch statement, invert, move. Yeah, okay, let's take the false out. Okay. All right, so let's see if that works. So that means the username. Well, that's not what we have to do. We have to change we have to get a reference to our main activity. So let's go back to our info activity, content info.xml. Remember, we made this our info details text, but did we give it an ID? No, we just called it text, but we have to give this an ID so we can set this to something else. So info, instead of text view, it's going to be info text view. Info text view. So we have some kind of ID to latch onto, right? Info text view. And then in my info activity.java, I can do something else. Like up here, I can say something like text view. We're going to call this info text view, which is equal to a text view. We're going to cast it as a text view again, where I do find view by ID, r.id and then my ID, which is going to be called info text view. There we go. So we've got a reference to my info text view, and then down here, after I got my username, what we want to do is something like this. Because username is a string, we want to say text view again. I got to get another. Obviously, my my thing is broken. My what do I got left? I got 6%. I should be able to last theoretically. It looks like my oh. I will. But let me just fix this up. I'll say text view, which is my info text view dot set text. I'm going to set text in there, which is going to be my username. A lot of work, but it might be rewarding if it works, right? So that's what's going to happen. So as soon as I push it over, it should happen, right?
I don't know. It doesn't like to find view by ID inside.
Up here?
In the main activity, G percent things to string back.
I'll make this public or private. Sorry. Main activity. Say that again. Change this to my application. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What it's like, I don't think around a whole bunch.
All right, let's check this out and see what happens and see if it works. But that's the methodology. You put an extra and then you receive the extra afterwards. You're passing from one activity to the other. Unfortunately, my application is stopped.
Yes.
Now the great thing is it gives you the errors up here, right? So it tells you what the problem is. Yeah. Is that the error?
Well, I think when you put that inside, like at the very top, it's like
Well, I've done it before. Look. Right? Maybe I need to make it a final. I don't think so, but you're talking about this text view, right? Is that what we're having a problem with? I don't think that's the issue, though. I think it's something else. I think it has to do something with our extra. Yeah, that's what I think it has to do with. Because otherwise, it shouldn't show this thing. Huh? What, this? Oh, here, this piece. Well, it's got to be, from what I understand from my string, you guys can look it up for me. Can someone do a lookup? When I set up, all I'm doing is setting up a key.
My application. The application.
That would be bad, eh? There we go. I hope you're right. I hope that's the only stupid issue that it is, but I doubt it. Android with a capital A. I'm just following the tutorial here that I got. It's lowercase Android. I wonder if that's the one it is. Android. Oh, the extra is the problem, guaranteed. The extra is the problem. No. So what's the error? How'd you do it?
Well, I did it different than making a public static comment string at the text that you quotes.
Show me what you're talking about. Say that again.
So
Instead of this,
yeah, instead of that, when you go and declare your extra,
which is down here,
yeah, instead of doing that input, you can really just like quotes and type the dribble in.
like a name info,
Yeah.
like this. So name info, like this.
Yeah, and then when you get it on the secondary activity,
Just a moment. Let's go to my contents, my activity info Java. Yeah.
yeah, so
Just put in name info, right? That's all you do,
name info like that, yeah.
right? Okay, but I don't think that's the one that's the thing that's what's crashing me. Something else is crashing me.
Yeah, well, and then on the first activity,
Just a moment.
you find view by ID, that has to be inside the onCreate. So I have to create a global variable to store the string in for using it.
Talking about this
The line level.
this final edit text. And what would you put? Where did you put that?
So I put that inside onCreate,
Uh-huh.
and then I made a global variable for the get.
Oh, from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be the problem though. For find view by ID, you're talking about making it in my sharing this as a public item, or what are you going to do?
Like my problem was find view by ID if you like it when it's inside onCreate.
Yeah, but we did that last time. Name edit text, right? Name edit text was working fine, right? Before we did the whole thing, we were able to do that no problem, right? Because this is just instead of final, we can make it public if I want, right? And otherwise, it wouldn't show this piece at all, right? Let's see that. So that shouldn't be a problem. That finding a name text by ID shouldn't be an issue. Let's see what I'm getting. Because you're Rich, you're saying.
My error was with find view by ID. Here's just what the input is. You got to
Line 16, is that what you're saying? My internal call, looper. Here it is right here. My line 17 on my main activity. So line activity, how do you turn on line numbers again? Line 17, which is this. So same thing, like you said, right?
I don't know. I just put that inside my onCreate and then stored it in like I did it with get string.
Sorry, just let's do it together. Come, show me. Instead of me, I want to show them the solution, then we can go. So put it in here, you're saying.
Put it in there, and then right after that line, do the get string.
What do you mean get string?
Like use name edit text dot get, like and store that in a global variable.
Get text?
Sorry.
Get text, and then?
So then when you get text, you create a global variable outside the onCreate above it.
Well, that's what I did. Without doing the public. So I say, so public, something like, we'll call this public like name text. Or,
String variable.
public string variable. I see what you're saying. That we call it like name string or whatever, name string, right? And then all I'm doing here is I'm saying my name string is equal to this thing dot to string, right?
And then scroll down to your extra.
And then change this to name string.
Yeah.
Right? So instead of my name edit text, it's name string. right? Sorry. But then that would be the same thing. Set text. How do I set text? It would be the same thing. I'd have to set text to. So I'm setting text on cancel button. And the same thing with my Onclicklistener. I'm setting the text. Select all.
That stuff should all still be, like, you're still creating name edit text within that method, right?
Well, I'm not seeing it anymore. I'm wondering if I have to declare this as static or public or final.
Yeah, mine's final.
Yeah, mine's a final. Okay, that took care of it. So sorry, down here,
And then instead of passing username, pass whatever global variable you
name string. So I don't have to do this piece anymore. All right, let's try that out. Okay, and then hopefully we'll be good. Yay, that's good. So put COM, and then press OK. And then it says, unfortunately, my application has stopped.
Well, did you make it so that it sets the text in the secondary activity?
Sorry, let's go back to my activity for a second. I know, I love it, eh? I know, it's awesome. Here's my issue. So what we're saying is, in this activity here, right? How is that not working? Name info. That's what you said to do. Get string extra.
To cast the text view inside the onCreate.
Oh, this again. Same thing. Oh God, it's ridiculous stuff, eh? Wonder why that is. I think there's a fix for that. So all the name text, the text field's got to be inside there. So put in there, Tom. So click in there. Right. That makes sense. I didn't do it. Didn't get the error, but I didn't get the. No. Are you sure this name info carries it though? Because that was the issue, right?
Go
So
back to your secondary.
name info. Here's my secondary. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing get and get string and dot get string and then name info.
After this, you mean?
Yeah, after dot get string extra. Before that, I just did dot get intent dot get extra dot get string.
Let's try this out. I love when I get help by students. It's amazing. It's better, actually. It's fantastic, right? What happened? What did you do that's different than me? Set text.
I don't know if it matters, but I'm doing the final text view, the text view in between the declaration of username, get intent, and
That shouldn't matter. You mean doing it here and here? You're talking about? That shouldn't matter, right? Because all I'm doing is getting the info text view, right? And set text. That shouldn't matter. What else? The same thing. What else? What else did you do? And yours works?
I didn't actually type something new in the box.
Come on.
Okay. I just still said enter text.
All right. So next week, what we'll do is we'll fix this issue.
How it works.
Yeah.
How about you do?
Close, Tom.
Okay.
You entertained us for wasting 5 minutes of our lives.
That's okay. I like it. I like
Fix
it.
the
Like,
errors.
what did you do different, Rich? Have power? I did
I
power.
have the text view declaration first,
That's on the laptop charger inspector here.
and then
That's
the
fine.
username variable second, but it works. So you get extras, get string name info.
First?
I have that, no, I have the text view declaration first.
That doesn't matter. But that's
No, I go back to your other data file. I did one other thing different, but I did the name. Hey, scroll up. Go to the OK button and click. Before open info screen in the on-click, I populated the name string variable. So I said name string equals get text.
Oh, here.
Populate the variable first on line before line 43.
Okay, so in here you mean.
Yeah, there.
So name string.
Equals name text view dot get text dot to string. So right before you call the next screen, populate that variable.
Name meta text.
Did you get it working here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I had mine working, but
Don't worry about it.
Dot get text dot to string.
You do it here instead of where you.
Yeah, because when you do it above, that's on create. So there is no text yet, right? So it's setting it to
Whatever it was.
whatever the default. There was no text.
so that should work.
You're gonna push it once you get it working?
Yes, yes.
That's right.
Do I sound like
The only
a
thing I can't do is my text highlight doesn't work.
Am I bugging you?
Well, if I
No,
click
mine
on, it
doesn't
only
work.
works when I click on in the beginning. If I click in the middle, it won't work.
No, but
So if I
I
click
get an
here?
error. It says when I enable my set Onclicklistener, it gives me an error. It says I can't set it on Onclicklistener.
Hey.
There you
So
go.
you have to set it in the right method.
It's okay. It's just
So
I was
you
trying to
have
pop
set
it in.
that method before you, because otherwise we're setting it too early. We're setting the variable too early.
Makes sense. Guys, for people who are watching, that's our little foible there. We just kind of it was a bit of a train wreck, but we got it done, right? And we'll see you next week, and we'll do I'll hand out the final project next week.
That was not a train wreck. Yeah, iOS was a train. Xcode was a train wreck. That